Welcome to mistake number 2 of the deadly sins of the six-figure product launch. And this is about naively trusting the words of your techies. This really hurt me in the Mobimatic product launch because I trusted that my techies knew what they were doing. These are boy geniuses, young boys, but very talented. So I made a mistake of trusting their words, and that came to bite me seriously. You cannot afford to do that if you want to do a successful product launch without tears. This is one of the biggest mistakes I made. It cost me over $300,000 in additional sales I could have made, and it made me pay over $50,000 in refunds within 7 days, which could have been very much avoided. I was totally clueless about coding or how the backbone of the Mobimatic software works, so I simply trusted my very good technical team. They have impressed me in the days leading up to the launch. They have impressed me in the way they were able to actualize the vision that I had for the Mobimatic app builder. But I made the fundamental mistake most people do when they trust their techies. I trusted their words. All right? When the product started showing some little glitches prior to launch, we were testing it for about 2 months before the launch. We had some beta testers. We also had some pre-launch people who paid for the software just so that we can see how it works from the point of view of those who paid for it. All right. Towards very close to the launch, it started showing some glitches. I met with my techies and then I suggested to them that we should postpone the launch because I'm feeling if these glitches could very well become a problem when we actually go into full-time launch. That's what I thought. I had the feeling that it could be something like that. But they told me everything would be fixed before the launch day. But I was skeptical. So as a lawyer, I naively thought that by making them put the assurance in writing, we make it true. I simply tell them, well, I don't know. I'm seeing 1 or 2 things here. Yes, they don't look very serious, but I don't want it to be something that will end up hurting us on a launch day. They told me, no problem. And then, of course, as a lawyer, I thought, okay, if I could make them put it in writing, then that way I am guaranteed that there'll be no problem. So I asked for a 100% guarantee in writing, and these young boys gladly gave it to me. I sent them the paperwork, they signed it, but I found out that getting paper guarantee is very different when the bullets start flying in the marketplace. Because when the product started failing in the middle of the launch, I realized that I was not in court. I'm not going to sue them, and the 100% guarantee was useless when I had over 1,000 buyers cussing me out on the phone, throwing well-justified tantrums, and demanding refunds on the spot. It was hard to rely on a 100% guarantee in writing when you had irate customers. So the moral of this mistake is never ever trust the words of your techies. I don't care how good they are. Never trust the words of your techie when products start showing signs of weakness before the launch. Once you start seeing signs of weakness before the launch, the smart thing would be to abort, to postpone, and then leave to fight another day. You should get an independent techie to look it over and give you an unbiased diagnosis and prognosis of what is going on and what should be done about that problem. Ignoring this advice will cause you so many problems than you can imagine. And losing money is the least of them. It will cost you brand credibility. It will cause you to lose relationships that has taken you years to build. I'm talking about relationships with affiliates and JVs. And it will make you cry in front of your wife and your mother-in-law. I swear that. That happened to me. I burst into tears, uncontrollable tears, in front of my mother-in-law and in front of my wife because I ignored these mistakes. Because when things start really going wrong, the words of your techies don't mean anything. You have to be protective of your brand. You have to understand that techies are always protective of their brand. They're always protective of the stuff they built. All right? They always feel protective of their work and are often in denial of the obvious. Just like and my guys were not an exception. All right? They were protective of what they have created, and they were in self-denial on what should have been obvious to them. All right? But because I wasn't a techie, it wasn't so obvious to me, even though I knew there was a problem. Your techies will often focus on the wrong problem instead of admitting that they had a coding problem, which is what happened to me. In our case, my techies kept insisting it was server issues due to overload when we started seeing those little glitches just before the launch, because then we had a lot more people on there to super test it. I thought that's what I was doing. And when they started showing that, they told me, oh, it was server issues due to overload, that they're going to just simply increase our server capability. And that's what they did. All right. And then when the launch started and the team started showing even more problems. Oh, they told me Amazon AWS was the problem. And then recommended that we should move everything over to A2 hosting right in the middle of the launch. Without thinking about this, because I was basically freaking out at this point, I promptly paid for the highest package they had on A2 hosting. Guess what? Within a few hours of moving everything to A2 hosting, and during which my buyers could not access their products due to propagation time needed. Every time you move host, you know you need more time for the site to propagate. During this time, the buyers, so at this time over 1,000 people have bought, they could not access the system. Even while we are doing this in the new hosting environment, the system crashed again. So after several SOS to A2 hosting, which they were not even really responding fast enough, all right, they told us they finally came back and told us they could not make our problem go away since we already exceeded the capacity of their highest server deal. I mean, I was in shock. This is less than a day, and A2 hosting told us, guys, your system is way, way, way too heavy for the biggest package that we had. So the next time I'm hearing, my guys told me we need to get another host yet again. This time is the third day and everything is going to hell, even as we continue to make massive sales. Those who are buying could not access the product. It was at this point that my brain finally woke up, and I asked the question I should have asked before moving everything from Amazon. Why will Amazon not be able to carry the load of our members, just about 2,000 people, all right, who were just about 2,000 people creating apps? I mean, Amazon has been around since forever. They have millions of people using their system every day. I mean, sure, some apps consume space, but Amazon, come on. They have millions of transactions going on every day. I never thought of that before. I never thought of that before moving in panic to A2 hosting. So at that point, my analytical mind started working. And it occurred to me that the problem may not be the server or the host, but with my software. I mean, I had to do analytical reasoning by elimination. Then it occurred to me that maybe the problem is not the hosting, maybe the problem is not the server, but my product itself. I mean, I was blinded from thinking laterally, as I was famous for, because my guys had given me 100% guarantee in writing. They kept insisting on it, even when problems started. And I stupidly believed them. I mean, I was blinded by the fact that I had 100% guarantee in writing, as if somebody signing a piece of paper that it guarantees this will make it so. So when I finally woke up, I took a different tack altogether. I left my techies alone and stopped talking to them. And I went and reported myself to a wonderful community of JVs I belonged to on Skype, which also included the market leaders in my niche. Of course, this is supposed to be an embarrassing thing at this point, but I didn't care about brand pride anymore. I just wanted the pain to go away because I realized that I was totally losing control. My techies couldn't help me anymore, and it's my name on the product. I'm the face of the product, and everybody is calling me. So luckily, there were some big-hearted guys there. I mean, some cracked some funny jokes, but some big-hearted guys took me on. They took me private on Skype, and they started throwing suggestions and resources at the problem for me. Within a few hours, the diagnosis was clear. Mobimatic, we got a problem. Apparently, the problem was in my app all along. It was in the software. But my techies were too blinded by their pride in their product to admit it. Eventually, of course, we solved most of the problem after 10 brutal days, but the damage was already done. The launch momentum had died, and refund requests quickly escalated over 10%. because in that most of those 10 days, even after the launch, people could not access the product, and it was not a cheap product. I mean, we were selling at the combined front end and offset was over $500 combined. So people were justifiably very upset for paying $500 for something that doesn't work. So the refund quickly escalated. All right. Now, as we got those refunds, our PayPal account was restricted due to the high refund rate, and it was a mess all through. People started, PayPal felt that they were a big risk, and they restricted our account. I mean, yes, we had over 10% refund, but to me, in retrospect, the refund percentage was itself a miracle. I mean, I was expecting like 50% at this point, and I was completely frustrated. I was stumped because I can put myself in their shoes. If I paid you $500 and I can't access the product, I will be asking for a refund quickly. But thanks to the Mobimatic army of help desk warriors, we had some wonderful young people on our help desk, about 20 of them, who were battling 24/7, who were able to hold our ground, and with some amazing customer service crisis response. I mean, my customer service people were up to at least part of it, because I'm going to talk about another mistake on that later. But they did a great job in stemming the tide of refunds by talking to people, trying to calm them down, and basically being responsive to people's problems. But the damage was done. We could definitely have done much better. So the moral here is never ever trust the words of your techies. They will always be telling you everything is okay. If I were to do it over, what I'm going to do is, after they've told me all they can, I'm going to get independent people who had no stake in the product. They were not part of the production. They don't have any self-pride to protect there, to look at it and test it thoroughly for me. At that point, they probably would have discovered the major problem, that there was a coding problem with our software that we would have solved before we went live. But I didn't do that, and it cost me dearly. Yes, we made $365,000. We could have made $1 million. I mean, and it didn't just cost us money, it cost us a lot in credibility. Because people were already skeptical anyway that these guys with accents who want to launch a product in the US, are they going to be able to deliver? Are they scammers? And all those questions started coming up when the product started failing. I mean, I had people call me nigger, people call me all sorts of names, even during the webinar. I mean, it was brutal. And I know we deserved every word they called us, because we didn't do our homework right. So if you want to survive, if you want to be there, at the end of the day, if you want to maximize your launch, you cannot trust the word of your techies. You got to get independent evaluators to help you look at situations as they arise and give you honest advice, and stop panicking. I panicked, all right? And I moved from Amazon to a lesser known host, and within 24 hours, I had to move all the way back to Amazon. All in the process, my clients could not use the system they paid for. And that really, really was a disaster.